Oh, peace, blessings, love, and light to you all. What is going on, multiversal family, soul tribe? Thank you, everyone, for tapping into the podcast once again with my lovely co host, Majestic Alana. She is back in the building. Yep,
Hey, vacation
that's right.
over.
That's right. That's right. All right. Um, so, without telling us too much information, how was your time with your loved ones?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I don't get to see my family too often, so
Okay.
I had a good time. I got to see all of my nieces, nephews, mom. I missed some family members. I do apologize for that, but my time was limited. My aunt. It was cool. I had a good time.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're glad to have you back. And I know that the viewers and the listeners are glad to hear your voice and to see you if they are watching. Um,
See this
so
big
I
old
had to,
teeth.
yeah, I had to go rogue on you a little bit while you were gone. So for the viewers and the listeners, she was fully aware, right, that I was going to do something on the podcast. So it wasn't anything that was done behind her back. Um, so I had a listener come on the show.
Mhm.
Um, his name is Dario. So
Dario. Shout out
yeah,
to Dario. You guys did a great job. I watched it. I
thank you,
listened. I tapped in. I supported.
thank you.
Absolutely. Y'all did a great job. I enjoyed it. It was good to see both of you guys, your perspective on dating and, the past versus how it is now. And Dario made a great point about communication.
Mm,
And then you was talking about the holding hands and the touch. People don't understand how important touch is.
mhm.
Touch is very important. But anyway, go ahead. What was you gonna say? Because I just
No,
jumped
you're
in.
good. You're good. I appreciate it. This one's for you, Dario. I appreciate you, brother, again for
Thank you, Dario.
yes. He was just stepping up to the plate, man, and he really took me by surprise. Like I said, I've often have conversations with him, and the brother is always on 20. He's not even on 10. We engage in conversations, and there are meaningful conversations. So definitely thank you again, brother, for coming onto the show and stepping up and stepping in. Which is actually, I'm glad I just said that. That is actually one of my movements that I have. I've been working on that since the beginning of the summer of this year, and I didn't fully launch it yet because I'm still doing some footwork on that. It's the step up and step in the movement, the multiversal movement. Step up and step in.
I think I heard you
Um,
mention it before in a
you
video,
you
I
may
wanna
have.
say, on your channel.
I,
Yeah.
I did. I did make a video and I mentioned it. Thank you. You know what? Okay. So it is out there. You just verified that that video is out there because I know I mentioned it
Mhm.
somewhere. But like I said, I've been trying to do my footwork and set my blueprints out for that to happen and go the way that I wanted it to go. Um, but that whole movement is very powerful, especially for the men, um, men of
Mm.
color,
Okay.
and quote unquote. Um, well, I hate using this term, um, the minorities, right? Um, quote unquote minority men, right? The black and browns. And it's just a movement to pretty much show everybody out there that there are a lot of good men out there still. and there's a lot of
Mhm. Mhm.
good men that's doing a lot of work to try to prepare and fix the youth for what they could possibly be facing as they grow. Um, and these are, you know, guys, men that have actually been incarcerated, um,
Mm.
men that have been in the
Mm.
trouble, and they figured out, that way wasn't for them. So they opted to
Mhm.
go a different direction, and they opted to actually give back to the community, to give back to the culture, to help uplift the
Mm.
culture and kind of rebuild some of the things that our society and the culture vultures have torn down. So that whole movement is just to give praise and show the world that they are actually out there doing something to make this world a better place. So
That's
I'm gonna
beautiful.
leave. I'm gonna leave that there. I'm not
That's
gonna give any
that's
more.
beautiful. That's good. Yeah,
Um,
please
and I like I said, I got some contacts.
come back with an update for us, though. Please.
Oh, it's gonna be videos. Like as soon as I go full speed, it's gonna be videos and interviews. Um,
Okay. I may
so
actually I don't wanna volunteer anyone, but I may know someone that may be a good fit for what you're talking about, but I won't
okay,
volunteer anyone's services, so yeah, we'll cross that bridge when you get there.
okay. Well, I definitely appreciate that. Oh, I always appreciate the wisdom and the knowledge that anyone can give you as far as making a difference is always a blessing. Um,
Mhm.
I believe that strongly, and for what this movement is designed for, what I've created it for, is to, like I said, is just to shine a brighter light on the people, the individuals that have been deemed outcasted by society, have been deemed to be
Mhm.
no good, be worthless, oh, they're troublemakers. These are actually individuals that's out there changing lives of our youth and preparing them to take a different route than what they could be heading down. So it's a mountain mover, as I always say. It's a mountain mover. Um, and they're gonna get on here and they're gonna speak their piece. They're gonna say what they need to say. They're gonna speak their truth. Um, and I
Nice.
think that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to some of these brothers that I have talked to already. Um, once I get everything situated, like I said. But so back into this last interview that we had, the last episode. Um, I did mention to Dario that I wanted you to kind of go into what it is that changed about dating when it came to women. And I know, me and you spoke
Mm.
about it, and I let you know that I wasn't
Uh,
particularly comfortable speaking on that because I don't want to sound like I'm being sexist, and at the same time, you
mhm.
know, I respect my mother hands down. Like, so when it comes to women,
You better.
I can't give my opinion from a man's view, right? Um, so I was telling him that I would rather you come in and tackle that issue because you have the he mentioned the remind me remind me of this name that he used. The sisterhood, right? Is that correct? The sisterhood, right?
I believe so I believe so.
Okay. So we have the
Dario,
sisterhood.
correct us in the comments somewhere when you when you
Or
see this.
anybody, right? Anybody. I don't care who it is, but I believe he said sisterhood, right? So
Mhm.
and before I let you tackle this, this is one of the key things that I say has become something so old that it's become new. So when I say
Mm.
that, I'm speaking about the division between man and woman. It's
Mhm.
something so old that it's become new, and they just gave it a
It's just
different.
re see, yeah, energy doesn't die.
Exactly,
Energy
exactly.
doesn't die. It's yeah, it's just
And
reinventing,
when you look at
basically.
it, so in my perspective, right, and maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I will.
Of course, you have the passport bros, right? So the passport bros are dedicated to just like claiming that the women in the West aren't worth, their time and energy and focus. Um, and then you have the sisterhood, which is the female side that I guess their whole agenda is female empowerment, um, feminine
Mm,
empowerment, whatever you want to call it. And like I said in the last episode that you and I did together,
mm.
you can disagree with me if you want, whoever's listening or whoever's watching. But women will always be the most powerful creatures on this planet. And when I say that, I mean that. So for a woman to want to go out and chant women's rights, um, female empowerment, women, feminine empowerment, whatever movements, you already have the power. The women literally always had the power. They've always had the power.
Mhm,
Even when you look back at history, historical events, the women always had the power. Now,
mhm.
I'm gonna dive deep real quick. If you look at the religious texts, religious books, if you really read the text and not focus on what it is that somebody's telling you you should believe that you're reading, take a moment and sit back and look at how masculine they have made religion. They've taken the feminine out of it. But how
They
can you
took the
have
mother out. The way I see it, you know how they say the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? I feel like they
where's the
removed the
mother?
mother and put the Holy Spirit, which I don't have no beef with the Holy Spirit, right? But where's the mother in this? Me and the Holy Spirit, we alright. We like
And
this. But don't try to
hey man,
replace the woman, you know?
this is
Amen, a
some
woman.
yeah.
The Father,
And
the
you know
Son,
what?
and the Holy Spirit. So it's 2 men and a spirit. No woman was needed for this child, right?
Right.
No woman was needed to create this son, and
Well,
we bought it.
apparently.
We bought it, we pumped it, we believe it. Anyway, this show ain't
No,
about that,
no,
right? Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely you're
My head
absolutely
wrap
right.
might be a little too tight.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's just right. It ain't too tight. It's just right. Um, so he was mentioning that, right, that particular group, and immediately I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna let um, Queen Alana come in here and do what she does because it'll be improper for me to speak
Mhm.
on that from that side about that side from the male perspective. Um,
Yeah,
and
because
clearly,
you don't want women thinking that you're some type of, male chauvinist or something like that, and
no,
that's
no, not at all,
totally
not at
not
all,
the case.
not at all.
But they will
Um,
eat you up if you say the wrong thing. They'll come for you.
of course they will. Of course they will, and that's okay. That's okay.
They'll
I'm
come
I'm
for
very
me.
well.
They'll come for me.
Yeah, I'm
They'll
very
come for
well
me too if
protected,
they
and you
don't
know
like what
what?
I say. I don't care.
Yeah, I still love them at the end of the day. I don't care. I might not like them, but I'll still love them. And that's okay. Like I always say, that's okay because I'm protected beyond measures. Believe me. Um, so it going based off of that last episode and just touching on to that. What exactly do you feel women have done differently from the '90s up to this current? like modern day status, right? And like I said in that last episode, the whole modern day thing is a
Mm.
mindset. It has nothing to do with the actual right now in the moment kind of thing. It's pretty much just based off of, a mindset. It's based off a mindset.
Mm.
And when you talk about being a modern day woman, a modern day man, you are simply putting yourself in a mindset, in a state of mind, and a way of thinking. So, what do you think changed about women as far as when we were
Well,
teens and what they're doing nowadays?
oh shoot. Um, Honestly, I want to go back a little bit further than the 90s, just a little bit, because I want to say that somewhere around the 70s, late 60s, things started to change where it became this thing of women women's rights and women
Hmm.
wanting to have their independence. And for our communities, like the black, the brown, I feel like when it came to the household, um, they started to throw, offer things to the women like, oh, you don't need the man. We'll give you Section 8. You can get a project apartment, but your man can't be there. You know what I'm saying? You can't have a man living there. So the women are, oh, I'm independent now. I want my independence, da da da. And, I can get this project apartment and pay $2 rent, but I just can't have my man here. Um, so
Mm,
starting back then, a lot of the families was like broken up and women had to take on both roles because now you don't put your man out. He's somewhere drinking because he's sad and on, shooting up or whatever, and you don't put him out. Now you got to play both roles. You have these babies to raise. You're spreading yourself very thin, whether you're working or you're on welfare, whatever it is that you was doing, you're still barely making ends meet.
mhm,
You're not living a high quality life. So those women were raising the next generation of women. And I want to say that it kind of started back then. Um, this women's rights, the separation, the division. And don't get me
mhm,
wrong, there was some women who still snuck their man in their project apartment or whatever the case may be. But I feel like it kind of started there. And fast forward, now women are very, it's no longer a man has to court you. Um, they don't even have to, it's like the women go after the men and they're aggressive with it. They're aggressive with it. I started to notice that, I wanna say in the 90s, in the late 90s, so I was whatever age I was, but let's say late 90s, early 2000s, I'll never
mhm,
forget, out on a I went on a date with my boyfriend to the movie, and the clerk was smiling at him or whatever the case may be, and I'm just peeping everything. So he pays for the movie ticket, and when she went to slip the change back, she didn't expect me to grab the money. So he
mhm,
paid and I grabbed the money and the tickets. And inside the money and the tickets was her phone number. Like she slipped him her number while his woman was right there with him. Like they've
mhm,
become very bold and aggressive with their approach. They don't I feel like women, not all, but now it's a thing of there's not enough men. I got to be aggressive with my approach. If there's nobody approaching me, then I'm going to approach somebody.
mhm.
I don't know. I feel like a lot the roles have reversed where the men are the women are the ones being more aggressive. On top of other things. That's just one of the things.
Okay, so what do you think about okay, so let me ask you a question about something that you mentioned. You mentioned the women's rights movement. And for a lot of people that don't know, um I'm pretty sure a lot of people are still under the assumption that during the 60s, 70s, that
Oh,
that was something new.
oh,
That
can
they
I add?
were actually black women that actually started that movement, right? Hold
Mm-mm.
on.
No, 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 no,
Ho-
no,
Hold on,
no,
hold
no,
on,
no.
hold on.
No, I'm
So,
gonna correct you. I'm gonna
mm-mm,
correct you because that we did not start that movement.
no,
We did
I'm
not
saying
start that movement.
a lot of people are still under the assumption.
Oh,
They're
okay.
under the
Let me
assumption.
scratch my nose here.
So when you look at the playbook, just like, okay, any sports fans out there, okay, look at the playbook, right? Tells you how the plays are ran, right? If you look at the playbook, who wrote the playbook? Who designed it?
Mm-hmm.
Who designed the plays? And actually, there was women's rights movement back in the 1800s. I believe it was like 1868 or 69 or something like that. So,
Well, our black bloods were still in slavery, so I know we wasn't a part of that movement.
hello.
No
All right.
offense, no offense, but I mean,
So there's a lot. There's still so much that needs to be uncovered when it comes to the lies and the BS that our culture has suffered from. And at some
mhm,
point, you have to say you can't wait for somebody to tell you enough is enough. You got to stand your ass up yourself and say enough is enough. You have to do it for yourself, and you have to do it for your family. You got to do it for your loved ones. You got to start digging for these answers and stop allowing them to teach our children these falsified stories. It's not history. It's his story, but it's not the story.
mm,
So back to the women changing, um, just over time and how much. I'm glad you. I'm still glad you brought that up because, like I said, it's something that's been here and now it's just being relived. Right? It's just
mhm.
it's presenting itself in a different form, in a different fashion. At what point did man and woman start separating? At what point did man and woman say, you know what, I don't like you and I don't care if you like me? At what point did that
Mm,
happen? And how did it happen? We talked about that a couple episodes ago, right? We talk about the music. We talk about
right.
just how the culture has changed, just the subliminal messaging and the programming and all of that stuff. And it happens over time. People hear about
Hmm.
these things and they're like, oh well, it's not
Nothing happens overnight,
and it
right?
never happens overnight. So if you think about that and put that in context, right? In true context, when people talk about change, they want things to change. Just as long as it took for our culture to be as screwed up as it is right now, it's going to take that much longer to fix it, to get everybody back on track. It's going to take time.
Mhm, mhm,
Now,
mhm.
the main thing is us having the patience as a people to see that change through, not just going up and waiting
And
until
being
somebody
willing
gets.
and open, we gotta be
Mhm,
willing to unlearn some things. You gotta be willing
that
to,
part.
yeah, to recognize that just because you was taught something or, raised a certain way, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% right. So being open to change, being open to learning and unlearning,
Right. Exactly.
indoctrination, you know?
Hmm.
But, I want to say somebody is literally spamming my YouTube page
They may be.
as
Oh, you know
no,
what?
they
Thank you
are.
for
I got the
reminding me.
alert.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, that's a good thing. That means you're being watched, and that's always a good thing on YouTube, right? So, whatever.
God,
And
these
it's okay.
people are crazy.
And it's okay. Like I said, it's
They
okay.
just
All right.
listen. Wait,
So,
wait. Oh my God, we must be
um,
onto something here because somebody went off. Okay, I got you. My
so,
block game is serious. But go ahead.
okay. Please inform me later of what you got going on over
I
there in your
will.
little tech lab. Um, so, if you're viewing or you're listening, um, please check in and tap into um, Majestic Alana's YouTube channel. Um, if you're
Majestic Alana's
listening,
tarot. If you like
there
tarot,
you go.
come on over. Get a message.
Mm,
Have a
I'm gonna
laugh
really,
because I do have some jokes mixed in there.
yeah, I don't know what's going on with you and that whole puffy thing. Um, that's probably not a
Listen,
good name to use right now.
Puffy. No, I'm not. But I
I'm just
said I
saying.
was retiring. I said I was I'm doing a renaming service for my ring light. The reason why I called the ring light Puff Daddy is because remember when he would be in everybody's video? Like he was the star of his artist
Yeah.
video. And
And
when
guess
he
what you
was
would see in his
beefing with
glasses
Suge
all the
Knight.
time? You would see that ring
Hmm?
light. If you look at like all the bad boy, like all the old videos, right? When they had their
Hmm.
shades on, you would always
Hmm.
see the ring light reflection
Oh, you know what?
in
I think I
their
did see
glasses.
that before. See,
So
listen,
that's where I thought you
I'm
got it
good.
from.
I no, because I made the joke because Suge Knight, when he was up on the awards and he was like, if y'all don't want to have a producer or whatever that's all in your videos, come to Death Row. So I named my ring light Puff Daddy. but,
Oh, all right.
but I'm changing it because
Okay.
I found out that, I don't follow a lot of what's going on,
Right.
but I just found out. I just found out. I'm always late to party because I'm not on
Oh,
Instagram. Yeah.
that's so
But
sad.
anyway,
So sad. So sad what's going
what's
on
so
with Puffy
sad?
right now, man. Um,
I'm not
it's
touching that.
yeah, me either. But eh, good or bad, indifferent, whatever. Um, when people get attacked like that, that's always, you know, whether they had it coming or not, um, that just shows you how brutal the industry can be.
We live
Um,
in a cancel culture. Like, what do you
yeah,
expect? This is
yeah,
cancel
and
culture. They will cancel anybody and nobody's off limits.
yeah, definitely not off limits. Me, I don't care, and it's okay to me. I don't care. Um,
You sound like you had a little compassion.
I did feel for Puffy because I'm not gonna lie, I was Harlem
I
shaking a
could
few
tell.
times. Um,
I mean, so was
he
I.
had some. You know what? It wasn't compassion for him. It was the music that he helped produce. Like the music
Absolutely.
that he produced was some
Musical
straight
genius.
bangers.
But guess who else? Guess who else a
Yeah,
musical genius? Kel.
who's that?
Like
Oh, Kels.
R.
Oh,
Kelly.
most
Like
definitely.
nobody when it comes down to it, I don't think I still
Hmm.
don't think one single person has more hits than R. Kelly. That's just my personal opinion when it comes to R&B.
Hmm.
I could listen to
Well,
all of his albums.
there are a lot of
I
songs that are
don't
sang
now.
by other artists that are actually written by R. Kelly, and we're not even gonna get into that because this is not the topic of the
Exactly.
video.
Listen, we
So
listen, but you know
here we
what?
go.
When you're talking about no, where's the other one? Where's the topic? Where you talking about we're talking about sacral chakra, we're talking about
Yes.
sexual
That
what
is the
is it?
top. That is the topic for today. So
Sexual entities. These guys have
yes,
sexual entities on them. So technically we're on topic. R. Kelly
yes,
absolutely has a sexual entity attachment. What is it for the men? Succubus?
Yes, for the
Right.
men,
And so
the
does
the
puppy.
female, as folklore tells it, um, the feminine entity is the succubus or the succubi.
Okay, okay,
Um,
okay. And the
yeah,
male.
succubus or succubi is Latin. And the male version is the incubus or the incubi.
Mhm.
Um, so with that, um, I did go through an experience like that. And this
Mhm.
was my late teens. Um, and what happens for most people is for the men, we get so caught up in lust. We get so caught up in to the appeal, the physical aspect of a woman that these are actually we don't sit back and realize that what we perceive and what we see that we are attracted to is actually something that we have manifested ourselves. We've created this.
Mm. Well,
It's been
nobody wants
tried
to
and
be
true.
accountable or responsible.
Yeah, nobody wants to do it,
Women.
right? So when I first started my spiritual journey and I started learning about this entity, right? I was really
Mhm.
intrigued, and that's what got me to really like looking into the folklore of it and just the historical beliefs behind the specific entity, right? And I
Mhm.
started to really put myself in check. I started to realize some of the decisions that I made in the past, and I related what I was reading to what I had already been through, right? So now I'm putting myself in perspective. I'm putting everything that I'm reading into perspective. Um, and I was like, "Yo, that was me." Like I was
Mm.
literally being attached to, or a succubus was attaching themselves to me because they knew what I wanted. The energy that I put out was exactly what I attracted. So if you think about it in that aspect, right?
Mm. Mhm.
It's a universe, one of the universal laws, right? Um, and these entities they feed off of that energy. Now, for the female entity, they survive off a man's semen, right?
Mhm.
Um, that's where they drain. That's where they get their energy from, right? And it's not that they force you to do anything. You have to be willing to submit to these entities. You don't know
Mhm.
who they
You have
are,
to be a
where they are.
open, willing vessel.
Yes, they cannot attach themselves to you without your permission, without your consent. And that goes far beyond verbal. It goes far beyond verbal, you know, hey, I'm with it, you with it, let's go. It's a spiritual thing. It deals with your magnetic field, your magnetic energy, right? So when I like I said, when I started researching this thing and I was like, you know, it amazed me because I really found out how powerful manifestation was.
Mm.
It's just like a woman, right? If you have a particular type of guy that you used to adorn, you used to say, oh, you want to find a guy that looks like this guy or he has these kind of um attributes, or he looks this
Mhm.
way and he walks this way. 9 times out of 10, if not within a couple days, a couple weeks, eventually you will see exactly what you were looking for. And then you fall in love because you like, that's my dream guy. Like that's what I was looking for. That's who I imagined. You not even thinking that you actually manifested this
Mm.
creature that's in front of you, right? And it's crazy when you think about it, but people don't want to, like you said, they don't want to take accountability, right? But
Mhm.
when you look back at the decisions that you made, some of the relationships and even some of the people that you may have met that you never even dealt with on a sexual level like that, you're like, you know what? I could imagine meeting someone exactly like that one day, and I actually did. And then it turned out I didn't even like the
Mm.
person. It was something off about them. You didn't vibe right with them. They said something wrong in a conversation to you. It maybe they stank. They didn't smell right. You know, something threw you
Not
off.
stink.
But so with what I see with women, right, that go through that, um, women get caught up in the same sort of ordeal, right? They get approached by these incubus, um, the male entities, um, and they take over the woman. They control the woman because the woman is so lustful of them that that entity knows exactly what she wants, right? And you're thinking, oh,
Mm.
this is a physical person. No, this is a lot deeper than the flesh that you're touching. This is an entity that is attached itself to a physical being, a flesh body, something that's following you
Mm.
around. It's an energy that knows how to follow your energy, and it knows exactly what you want because it's reading your energy, right?
Mm.
And we fall into these traps of bad relationships and dealing with people that we fall madly in love with, and then at the same time it becomes destructive to ourselves.
Mm.
And for whatever reason, you know, people just can't grasp that concept, that side of it, right? So they're like, oh, the dude was trash or the girl was trash. Um, but when you look at it on a spiritual level and you talk about these different types of entities that attack people, I'm not even say they
Mm.
attack you. You, like I said, you give them the permission to subdue you or to seduce you, right? You're giving them your consent, and they take advantage of it. Um,
Mm.
and in a lot of cases, um, you have some guys that can never get rid of a succubus or succubi, and then
Absolutely.
what happens is that so much of your spiritual energy is drained from you that your flesh body actually starts to deteriorate. You fall ill. You start to become weak. Your body, your organs, your flesh organs start to fail. You know, quote unquote, fall to these illnesses, right?
Mm.
And some of that stuff is unexplainable. Um, Nobody knows why such and such got sick, why he's losing so much weight, why he can't gain weight, why he's now in depression. These are all kind of tall tale signs, especially with men that are actually just out there in the world, just being out there. Um, they have a lot of entities attached to them.
Mm.
And with that
So
said,
yeah,
mhm.
go ahead.
So
Go
with
ahead.
that said, right, that goes into the whole protection, right, and that sacral energy, that sacral chakra, right. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of the times, people are too comfortable with being like pleasure. Okay, so nobody's ever going to say that being pleasured is a bad thing, right? Or feeling pleasure is a bad thing. Um, in some cases, what happens is your body overloads. It's just like a generator or a battery, right? When something's overcharged, when it's too much
Mm.
of anything, there has to be
Well,
an
that's an
overflow.
imbalance in the sacral chakra.
Right. That's an imbalance. And what they call it is like an overactive, right? An overactive chakra or something like that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
it's very important, especially for this chakra, even the root chakra. But the sacral chakra, um, it deals with more of balance. If correct me if I'm wrong, but we're dealing with more of balance, more of it's it's trying to balance the things you know that you want. It balances things in your life, in your spiritual in a spiritual aspect. It's supposed to be like a balance there. So too much or not enough is it does that chakra no justice. Um,
Well, okay, so I mean, that's pretty much with all the chakras, right? And
mhm.
overactive,
Yeah,
any
of course.
chakra that's overactive, whatever. But your sacral, that's your water chakra. That's the one that
Hmm.
has your sexual organs and things of that nature.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, if it's out of whack, you'll find yourself on Pornhub too damn much.
Hmm. Okay, so
Or
and that's what I was going to get, but
you
I
will
wanted you
lack.
to chime in. No, I wanted you to chime in because the reason why I brought the sacral chakra into this is because we talk
Mhm,
about like the the entities, right? The sexual entities and
mhm.
just sexual energy in general, right? We're speaking of that particular chakra.
Right,
And it's very
absolutely.
dangerous to have an
Whether you're a man or a
overactive,
woman.
right? Whether man or woman, it's very dangerous to have an overactive sacral chakra. It's very dangerous to the point where if it's not controlled, that may just be your demise.
Mhm.
Real talk, hands down, no cap.
Oh, a lot of people go down
And
for
and
that very reason. No,
and,
no.
and and you know what happens is for a lot of people, right? What happens for a lot, I'm not. You know what happens for a lot of people is when they get to that point of no return, right? The that overstimulation turns into mental instability. So now
Mm,
you're more prone to becoming um depressive. You're more prone to becoming
mhm.
um quote unquote wanting to unalive yourself. You're more prone to a lot
Lacking
of negative,
creativity. There's a lot.
right?
Mhm.
It's a lot. And
Emotional imbalance.
exactly. And you open these doors, you open these spiritual doors for so many different types of energies and entities to attack you from every direction because your vibration has now been lowered.
Mhm,
Your vibration has now been lowered because of this overload that you've, let get out of control and you just let it go, right? So now you've opened this spiritual portal and now you have all of these things coming in and trying to get a piece of you. So when it comes to that, this is where the protection aspect of it comes in. Um,
mhm,
and I really like what you do, Queen Alana, because when I first came across your channel, um, I actually saw one of your videos. The first video I saw, it was actually talking about some kind of bundle that you were doing, right? You were making
mhm.
a protection
We was
bundle,
doing that. Yeah.
right? And I was like, whoa, that's dope because you know what? Out of everybody I've seen on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, like I've seen people do it, but they were like selling stuff that I already saw. So to see someone that was actually like, you know, if you need this, send me an email. I'll get back with you and discuss whatever it is that you need. So it wasn't like, okay, this is going to be a kit that I'm putting together and I'm selling it to everybody, but it was more of like a personal thing. Like, okay, whatever that individual needed it for, that's what you created for them with your own, with your own hands and spirit. And you presented it to. That's what I took from it. So I was like, man, that's pretty dope, man. Like you have a custom made kit for yourself, not like
Yeah,
a
depending
Amazon
on
kit, an
what your
Amazon
need was.
spiritual kit, right?
Mhm.
Right. So it wasn't like
Right.
an Amazon, pre-made spiritual kit, right? This is something where they
Right,
have to
right,
get
right.
with
It was
you.
gonna be different for different people, depending on
Right.
what they needed. Some people, everybody don't have the same issues. Some people you may be experiencing some financial blocks, right? And
Hmm.
you wanna do some work on your finances. So then
Right.
you would
Right.
gear it towards financial. You wanna have the right crystals, the right incense, etc.
Right. Well, definitely. Like I said, for the ones that are listening, for the
But
ones
you know what? That's not offered on my site.
is not.
Those
Wait.
bundles?
Okay,
No, I have to. Okay, so I do I still have a bundle on there?
I'm gonna go check it out just to
That was
see.
a special that was actually a special that
That
was
was a
going on.
special. You're right. You're
It
right.
was
And
a
I remember I
special.
told
It
you.
wasn't. Yeah,
You're right. Remember when
it
we
was a
first
special.
communicated, and I was like, you know what? I was supposed to get a kit. I was supposed to order a kit from you like 3 months
Yeah,
ago,
back then.
and I still haven't
Uh-huh.
done it. So it was a special, and I remember seeing that you were running some kind
Yeah,
of
it was a
special.
special. It was
Okay.
absolutely a special. That's not I would dang, I realize
So
the
what do
light
you have
bulb
on the
went off
site
on
right
there.
now? Like what are you offering on your site right now?
What's on the site right now are candles, different candles. I have like for different purposes, right? I have
Right,
sage, I
of course.
have um the Cleopatra, which is one that's more geared towards like love, whether that's self love or just inviting the energy of love into your house. Um, Usually around Valentine's Day, I'll do the massage candles, for the couples and stuff like that. It usually depends. It
Is that the
depends.
ones with the chocolate in it?
No, they
Okay.
make chocolate candles.
I don't know.
you you
I
do you
just
eat the
figured,
candles? What?
uh, I'm pretty sure they got
No,
some
it's
kind of
just a
chocolate.
massage candle. It's like you light the candle and then but the candle is made of like special wax and oil. Um,
Okay.
and you don't want to dip your fingers in there when it's too hot. I could do it. I don't care. It doesn't really burn me. But
Okay.
yeah, you would just do a massage or whatever. It's
Okay.
up
So
to
are those
you.
like
They
the
eat it. Listen, don't sue me.
I'm not telling anybody to eat her candles. So please
Okay,
do
please
not
don't.
do not
They
refer
are
this.
not edible.
Yes. Disclaimer, they are not edible.
They're flammable.
So are those the ones that actually turn into like the massage oil once you like burn them? You can actually use the
Yeah,
wax as
basically
a
when
okay.
you use the wax to massage with the wax. Absolutely. I
Okay.
usually do it around Valentine's Day. It kinda it depends. I have you know how you have just like your regular
Hmm.
group of customers. So I do a lot of custom stuff for them. They can look
Hmm.
on the website or they'll tell me what they need. Like, hey, this is going on, or can you do a reading for me to see what's going on? And we can look into it and then come up with some type of formula geared specifically towards them. But on my website right now, there are candles and the protection spray. And I want to say the incense are there as well. If they're not, I better update that because incense
Okay.
are available. Yeah.
And also, everyone, if you are not um, tapped in and listening, if you are watching, please remember that you can always follow us on iHeart.com and just type in the MM podcast, as well as over there if you're on Spotify, if you listen to Spotify,
Mhm.
um, the MM podcast, type that in the search, and we should pop right up. That way, you will not miss an episode. If you're on the road, if you're traveling, you can always tap back into an episode and listen while you're on the go. So,
Right.
um,
Um, I got a question for you.
I may
But
have an answer. I may have an answer because this seems like it's coming from left field.
no, it's not. It's actually on topic. I
Okay.
actually try to stay on
No, I'm just
topic,
saying I'm not prepared for
unlike
this question, so
some
I
people.
may have an answer for you.
How
I
do
don't
you
know
how
what
do
you
you
got.
say you're not so in regards to protecting yourself from
Mhm.
these entities or the succubus or the what is this succubus, incubus? What is
They pretty
what
much
are some things you recommend? Or how did you because you said you kinda experienced that, how did you kinda
yes.
pull yourself out of that?
Um, I actually had to. I had to first of all. I had to get away from watching the corn. Right. Um, Things of that nature
Mhm,
really open up a lot of portals that if you're not
mhm,
spiritually inclined, if you're not awakened, you will never be aware of what's going on around you. Um, and I just had this conversation with somebody else the other day about the awareness and the capability of cats, dogs, and other animals, right? They have the ability to sense these things. They have abilities to hear
mm,
frequencies that we can't hear. They can feel
mhm,
and smell things that we can't, right? So, what would make one person believe as a spiritual being in a flesh body that you have not been programmed to pick up on the same things that these animals can? At some point, you
mhm,
we were downgraded, right? We were downgraded so far that the things that we are supposed to be able to sense and the things that we are supposed to be able to experience, most of the population cannot. Just for that reason, because they don't want you to.
mhm.
Um, but these
Take
things
your
actually exist.
spirituality and give you replace it
Yes.
with other things.
Yeah, that part.
Hmm,
um, so I really had to do some
mm,
real digging, right, within myself. And once I started to push myself away from that kind of energy, I started to see things change. Um,
mm,
I started to see things for myself change because when I was dealing with that type of energy, that specific entity, um, and like I said, they come in different forms. So just because you deal with, for the guys out there, just because you deal with a woman that's over here, and then you're like, okay, well, she was the devil, and whatever you want to call her, she just wasn't for you. Every time you were with her, bad things happened to you. Um, and then you go over and you meet another female. Don't assume that that energy didn't transfer because that's what energy does. It transfers, right?
mhm, mhm,
I'm gonna drop a gem right there. I'm gonna leave it there. Just because you move does not mean that the person or the energy that that person had stays with that person. No, energy continues to move constantly at
mhm,
this, beyond the speed of light. So when when you talk about coming in contact with one of those individuals, one of those flesh bodies that has that type of energy attached to it, or that type of entity attached to it, right? Now that energy has become part of you. You have made physical contact, and that energy, that magnetic field, has exchanged negative and positive, right? An exchange of energy. That person's energy part of that person's energy now becomes part of you, and that's
mhm,
what myself and Dario were speaking about. Um, you know, when you move from one relationship to another, you have to. A lot of people fail to realize that you have to cleanse yourself spiritually, mentally, um,
Take a
emotionally.
break.
Yeah, you got to take a
Take a
break.
break
And
in
like
between
we were
relationships.
talking about that.
Somebody once
Right.
said, really quickly, someone once said, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody new. Like, no, that's bad
Who said
advice.
that? I gotta find that quote. Let me go on my laptop. Hold on.
It's not a quote. It's somebody I knew in real life.
They were definitely a mover.
The
I'll
best
tell you
way
that
to
much.
get over someone is to get under somebody new. Hello.
Yeah, no, that's not the answer. Everyone, you did not get that from the MM podcast, and definitely didn't get it from Multiversal. Um, so no, you know what? And like I said, that's something that people fail to realize, right? Is that when you feel as though you're over someone, and you like, that person just got you to that point of no return. You're fed up. Some people, it's easy for them to transition right into another relationship, but that's not always the good thing, and it's never the best thing to do anyway, because there's a period and time in there where you have to sit back and you have to cleanse yourself. Um,
Mhm.
and most people now, I'm not going to say majority of the people nowadays do not think like that. Um, so for the guys out there, and I'm not saying this to downplay anyone, but if you know a female and she's going through some kind of issues with her boyfriend or her friend, don't try to creep your butt in there and try to get some skins just because you're like, oh, you want to be the rebound man, right? Well, guess what? The rebound man, you gonna catch a lot of rebounds, and whether it catches you at that moment or it catches you later down in life, that energy
Who's the
that you
best
rebounded,
rebounder in the NBA?
that energy that you rebounded, my guy, is really not going to be worth it when you sit back and think about why things are starting to fall apart in your life, or why
But
things are happening
but
the
to
way they
be
are happening
honest,
for you. And women too. That
some
goes for
people
the
don't
women too.
stop. They don't. But here's the thing: they don't stop and pause and think. Dang,
No, they don't.
why are things
They
happening
don't.
like this? What's going on with my life? I want to say that I said that in a reading. I want to say maybe yesterday. I can't remember. Maybe it was
Hmm.
Aquarius or Libra. I can't remember. But it was basically like when this when something is off in your life, you have to look
Hmm.
around. It's always a person, a place, a thing. It's one of those 3.
Hmm.
It's a
Absolutely.
person, a place, or a thing that needs to
And you know
change.
what?
It's something shifted.
Hmm. And back to
Go
what you
ahead.
were asking me about that, right? When you asked me that question, that just sent me on, down that path, because when I was dealing with that type of sexual entity, right? It wasn't that I didn't know that I was doing something that didn't feel right. I was just doing it because I felt as though that made me happy, right? To be able to just do what I wanted to do, and that pleasure aspect of it.
You
But
was
as
living
things
in your
happened in my
lower
life,
self.
right, I was living in my lower self. I was definitely living in my lower self, but I didn't comprehend that that's what was happening. I didn't comprehend that that's the dimension that I was living in at that moment. I wasn't comprehending what dimension I was experiencing. I was totally in my lower self, but I didn't start to reflect on how bad things were for me when I was dealing with that type of energy, until I stopped and I shifted my way of thinking. I shifted my whole mindset, and I started moving a different way. I started eating a different way. I started carrying myself a different way. I started talking to people a different way. And when I look back, I was like, yo, I was deep under, like the old show New
Oh,
York
you was
Undercover.
out there?
Like I was, I was,
I remember
I
that show.
was,
I used to love
I,
that show.
I was like new deep New York undercover, low frequency, and I didn't
Mm,
see how low I was until I was able to rise above where I was, and as I got higher, I was like, man, I was really all the way down there. Like I didn't even, and at that time, like I said, I wasn't even tapped into my spiritual energy. I was just going with what I knew, right? And what I was taught, what I saw, what I perceived, what I downloaded, what I consumed. So as I leveled up, as I kept leveling up, I could look down and literally see where I was. And I was like, yeah, that's not even cool, man. Like, and it's sad
mhm.
because a lot of people still think like that. I got a lot of people back at home that I'm sure are, 10, 20 years older and still vibrate on that same frequency. And that's sad. It's sad
Mhm.
that I can come up out of that. And maybe it's because I was chosen to be one of those individuals to level up. But when I look down and I see people that's 20, 30
Or
years
maybe
later
you
and they're doing the
consciously
same
made a
thing,
choice to level up. It can go both ways, you know?
that goes with my experiences. Everything that I experienced and those kind of swayed me, you know what I mean, to make those changes in myself. But it's still sad to see people, 20, 30 years later, and they still out there doing, you know, low vibrational stuff. And it's like they
Same
don't
thing.
even care. Yeah, they
I
don't
had
even
to cut
care.
a lot of people off.
Hmm.
And I had to cut a lot of people off. Like all of my old friends, I don't even have them anymore, you know? Because it's
Hmm.
like and it's not from their perspective, they may look at you and say, "Oh, he think he's better because he moved out the hood or whatever."
Hmm.
People come up with all kind of stuff, but some just refuse to stay in the same place.
Right, right.
You want more for yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. People will try to make you feel bad for it, but there's nothing wrong with wanting more for yourself.
Nothing at all. That's and that's
So,
okay.
good
I'm
for
gonna leave it
you.
at that. That's okay.
Congratulations. So you're basically saying just give time, separation, spiritual cleansing of
Definitely,
yourself. Um, you could
definitely.
detox within, there's herbs and things you could take to clean out your
Hmm.
inside.
Hmm.
To That specifically will help with that sacral energy. I
Hmm.
want to say, don't quote me on this, but I want to say hyssop is one of them. Hyssop tea.
Mm, you know what?
Hold
I don't
on.
have any experience with that particular tea.
I wanna say
Um,
that, um,
let me
that's
do
good
something.
for the sacral energy, to clear that out. Let me,
Um,
yeah.
okay. So it definitely deals with you know,
I don't know
bacteria,
why they're saying
um,
third eye, but yeah, from a
illnesses in the
physical.
body. Hmm. And okay, so
Hold on.
okay, if anyone out there remembers, um, I think this might have been in the Ten Commandments, right? Where they took um the blood. I don't know if it was Ten
10
Commandments or
Commandments? They
another
ain't
one.
take no blood in no 10.
Oh,
Tell
I
the
don't
story
know.
and
That's what I
I'll help
said.
you
I
out.
don't know. Okay,
The
so
10
that particular
Commandments
flower,
is
right? So is used the I know it's that particular plant was actually used um by the Jewish um culture, right? uh,
Mhm.
the we ain't gonna get into that right now. But they they use that to like sprinkle the blood um when the plague was going on and stuff like that. I believe that they used that plant to like sprinkle the blood.
Well,
Um
it's definitely in the Bible. It's definitely in the Bible.
right.
It is in the Bible.
Um I gotta find out if there's actually a movie where they show that. Um and I remember thinking to myself, why are they using bloody flowers? Bloody at first I thought it was like bloody roses, right? Like bloody rosebuds and they
Bloody
like
flower.
so I'm like, why do they put blood on the rose? Man, then you think about okay, well, I was
You
Batman
saw
fan.
this in a movie?
I can't remember what it was. It was a movie I saw,
Okay.
and there was like a plague. There was a plague going on, like a bubonic plague or some crazy like that, right? So what they would do is they would take the
See if
people
I
that
can find it.
died and they would sprinkle the blood around, and it was supposed to protect, like pretty much set up a barrier. Um,
Oh, it's very
ain't that-
protective.
so that's what I'm saying. I got to figure out which one it
It's
is,
very
and I'll definitely
protective.
get back to you. Um, but yes, definitely protecting yourself. Um, and protecting your energy. I've been saying that in my videos since I started this channel, right?
Oh.
Um,
Oh,
it's
so I
just
just saw where they gave it to Jesus. They saying on the with the vinegar, put it on
okay.
a sponge on the stalk of a hyssop plant. A plant. I don't. Yeah. Anyway,
So I haven't, like I said, I haven't experienced that particular plant
and some
firsthand, but
people.
I'm gonna definitely look into it, see if I can get me
Oh
some.
yes, hyssop is very cleansing and protective. So I
Mm.
feel like if you could, as long as it's you getting the pure herb. And I am not a herbalist. Let me be clear. I am not a doctor.
Disclaimer.
This is not medical advice. Yeah, not medical advice at all. But from a spiritual standpoint, hyssop is very protective. Very
Mm.
protective. It's great for cleansing. Absolutely, they used it in the Bible. I just saw for cleansing, and I want to say that was Leviticus.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was an Old Testament, right? It was an
Mhm.
Old
Yeah.
Testament.
See, the Old Testament talked a lot about the herbs and the incense and things of that
Hmm.
nature. A lot of that stuff is in the Old Testament.
Hmm.
Yeah, not so much. I won't say they didn't have in the New, but they mention a lot in Old. The Old Testament has a lot of jewels, but we'll get into that one day. Maybe we'll do a topic on that. But
It's up
yeah,
to you. Tell the
definitely.
people what you want. Tell the people what you if that's what
Oh,
you
well,
want to
they need
do.
to tell us what they want, give some suggestions, what y'all
Yeah, we're
wanna
gonna
hear.
keep
We're here
going on
to
until
serve
y'all
you.
chime in. Exactly. We're gonna keep
Right, we're
going
here to
in
serve you.
until you guys,
If not, we
you
gon
all chime in,
yeah, we're gonna create the topic.
and that's cool. That's pretty dope. You know, to actually, like I said, we love and appreciate you all for showing us support, and it really we can't really express how much gratitude we have for the support that we have. But just know that it's greatly appreciated. And if you
Absolutely.
are listening or if you are watching, by any means, post a comment. I know on the podcast on Spotify and iHeart, I think you may be able to leave a comment. I'm not sure, but if you are
And
watching,
I think you could like it or review it. I don't know if you could comment, I'm
okay,
not sure.
so they may be able to
But
leave a
I don't
comment
know,
and a
see,
review.
that's more your area. I'm I'm like YouTube, like,
Yeah, I'll check
I do
into
a
it, but I'm
lot
pretty sure they can. I'm pretty
on
sure they can
YouTube.
leave like a review of what they think about the episode or the channel. Um,
Right.
so with that said,
Make
everyone,
some suggestions.
right?
Make some
Definitely make
suggestions.
suggestions. We're always open for suggestions or If there's something that you don't want to particularly say that you want talked about on the show, um,
And I
just
also,
reach out.
we can go so far with relationships, but I do want to tap back into what Dario was talking about with communication because I feel like we overlook, not overlook, but it's so much to talk about. It's hard to kind of
Hmm.
squeeze it all in. But
Yeah.
the whole thing with technology and the phones now, we had a brief conversation about it.
Hmm.
How everyone is so comfortable with just texting or social media and no one
Hmm.
picks up the phone anymore to say, "Hey, how are you?"
Yep.
How you going? How you going? But some people actually say, "How you going?" If you West Indian, you probably say, "How you going?" But
Mm.
how's things going in your life? What's going on? I
Wagwan.
wanna hear your voice.
Yeah, Wagwan.
Tagwan.
So it's
But yeah,
definitely
it's a
guilty of
lot
that.
of I'm very guilty of it. Like all of my so I'm not on my Facebook page anymore. And all of my friends that I used to communicate with on Facebook, even though I have their numbers, we communicate way less now. But on Facebook, it was easier to, comment on their posts, go back and forth, laugh, joke and stuff. But now, you know, no picking up the phone, no more of that. It's been replaced with
Right.
social media. I feel like a lot of this stuff is by design. I want to say I heard somebody talking about it yesterday, how we're losing that sense of closeness, even down from the great sickness where they had everybody separating from each other.
Hmm.
People kind of got comfortable
Absolutely.
in that. They
Hmm.
got comfortable in, not going out, not mingling, not interacting, not touching. But anyway, yeah, we'll get into that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe next episode we can talk more about communication. Unless, did you have something else lined up? I can't remember. I gotta look at the list.
Mm-mm. That's it for today. That is it for today.
I'm talking about, did you have something else
Um,
lined up for next week? Are your ears on?
my ears are always on. Um, no, no, we'll do just that. We'll do just that because, like you said, that is a very broad subject to tackle. So it's just so many different avenues that you can take when you speak about relationships, whether it's, an intimate relationship where you're talking about just purely a friendship. And I know
Mhm,
so many people that they've been in more friendships than they have been in relationships. And that's
mhm,
the harsh reality for most people, right? They tend to be more friendly or have more friendships than they have actually been in relationships. So they can relate more to friendships than relationships. And like you just said, you know,
a friendship is
most of the
technically a
time,
relationship, but a different
it,
one,
it
you
is,
know?
it is. But the thing with the friendships are those could last, you know, 10 plus years, right? So you're talking about somebody that you have this kind of chemistry with, right? And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where you have to detach from that person or those people in general, maybe the whole group, depending on, what kind of movement you're making. You may have to detach from everybody. And that's a
Mhm,
hard pill to swallow for people that have been in, in alignment with you that long. Most relationships, unless it's a marriage or something like that, you may be looking at 2 to 3 years minimum, right? 2 to 3 year relationship, maybe 4 or 5 years, depends. But most of them, most relationships, intimate relationships, generally around the 2 or 3 year mark. If nothing moves between that time frame, then it's over, right? But with friendships,
not in
these
New
are
York.
Well, and here in
Just kidding.
Texas too. Like after I think it's 2
Just
years.
kidding. There's a lot of shacking up and never
um,
you know he ain't gonna marry you after 63 years, and that's okay. Like, marriage is
uh,
just it's not for everybody, and at the end
right.
of the day, what is it again? A man kinda like a man-made thing? I forgot the way you worded it.
It's a man-made thing. It's a man-made.
Okay.
It's a man-made contract. Um,
Man-made contract. Yes, yes,
it's a
that's what you
man-made
said.
contract. It's a
Mhm.
it's a man-made. It's man-made, but it's actually somewhat of a soul contract because you're actually signing a document that's worded and spelled in ways that it casts exactly what it is. It casts it gives you some kind of bond. There's a bond that's created when you sign that contract, a marriage
Mm.
contract. Um, Now, if it's simply just a marriage, you have to get a marriage license, which then the marriage license is then sent to the state, and then the state or is sent to the county, and then the county or city has to send it to the state, right? It's very contractual. Um, so with that said, um, I don't know any stories in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Torah, um, where they
Mhm.
had a wedding of 250 people sitting at a venue, right? Throwing rice and flowers. For one, nobody was throwing rice back in those days. If you threw rice, you probably would have got beheaded because that was something
Not forget
that
it.
people ate, right? So we're not throwing rice, right? And we're not throwing
Mhm.
popcorn and we're not doing all these other crazy types of things that were
Marriage
created.
then was basically once you laid with the person, that was your husband, that was your wife,
Yes. And we're
bottom
going to get into
line.
that in the next
You
one
okay,
because
cool.
that's why I said, yeah, we're going to do that one because it's a lot that goes, it's a lot that goes with that. And it's just, with the whole communication thing, um, the way things are going now, and from what I've been reading, um, this whole AI thing is about to go crazy.
Oh,
It's estimated,
absolutely.
yes, it's estimated that by the year 2025, which is, if you look at the count, if you look at where we're at
Around the
now,
corner. It's around the
another,
corner.
they're saying they were projecting it as like 2030, but the way AI is moving right now, they're projecting by 2025 half of the jobs that are manual labor, well, a little bit less than half of the jobs that are um, manual labor will actually be able to be controlled by this AI. And now they have the bots coming out. Um, and they have, every time you look around the corner, there's another AI program, right? So there's AI that's jumping out of nowhere. Um, and this is, you know, to end the show for the day. Um, a lot of people look at Elon Musk as weird, right? They look at this man as you know, he's off, like he's off, right? But when you actually sit back and you think about every decision that he
He's a
makes,
genius. He's a
he
genius.
is
The reason why
bona
they think
fide.
he's a weirdo is because he has that, form of autism,
Mhm.
so he's
And
socially awkward. But go ahead.
exactly, and he walked away. He walked away from the AI scene, and he told them, "This is not something that you want to do. We are not ready for this yet." And he didn't want anything to do with it, so he stepped away from the whole AI scene. But at the same moment, he created the Neuralink, which is AI. It's
I mean, he
a a chip that they will insert into your flesh body, and it does pretty much whatever they tell it to do, whatever it's programmed to do. That's
Not
exactly
this
what.
fraud.
So, if you get a chance, check out that Neuralink stuff. Um, there's another company out there that's doing something similar to where they can put you pretty much like into a CAT scan, and they can pretty much read your brain waves, the energy that you're giving off, and they can tell exactly what you're thinking because they're saying that your DNA speaks, it produces vibrations and sounds that creates words. So they can actually decode what you are thinking.
I could
This is a
decode what you
machine,
thinking right now.
and this is a machine,
I
right?
don't need no
So
machine.
when we get into that technology thing about the phones and all of that, I'm going to tie that part into what I just said because there's
You
a
gonna
lot of that
tie the
going on.
AI into that? Okay, well,
I'm
I
going to
wanna
tie the
see how you
takeover. I'm going to tie the whole agenda for the whole agenda to take over through these handheld devices and stuff that we use every day, that we have in our face every day, that people are putting their thumbprints on every day, that people are scanning their faces with every day to unlock
you
their
are
phones.
not scanning my face or my thumb. But anyway.
That people do it and they give you that option.
Oh, they
So
absolutely do. I
I'm here to
listen,
move mountains.
I'll never forget a specific person who I no longer have ties to. I'm not gonna name any names. She's probably still a fan. Hey, fan. Um, she was so excited, like, "Yay, the iPhone updated, and now I don't have to put my password. I'll just put my goofy face here, and it'll unlock." Woo.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's that time.
we'll get into that another time. No heat, no judgment, I'm just saying. Let me not that was kinda judgmental, wasn't it? Anyway, that's a particular sign in
No
my chart
comment.
that judges people at times. I'm
No
not gonna say
comment
the
at this
sign.
time. No comment, Your Honor. Um, so
Alrighty.
thank you everyone for tapping in with us for this episode. And as always, peace, love, and light
Yes, thank
to
you.
you
We
all.
appreciate you.
Um, Signing off is Multiversal and my lovely co-host Majestica Lana. Be safe out there, everyone. Until the next episode next week. Um,
Don't
as always,
hesitate to
say
elevate.
there you go. Peace.